I'm actually curious about how this book came into your orbit. It, that he, Thomas Savage wasn't an immensely popular novelist in his lifetime, but I know that Annie Proulx had written an afterwards to The Power of the Dog, and I'm wondering if that's what drew you to it, or how and first when you came to read it.
What happened was that my dad's second wife, Judith Campion, she sent me the book. She's a great reader. She teaches English in New Zealand. She used to teach at a high school, and we often share books. And she just got me at a moment where I really wanted to read something, because that book could have stayed, somewhere on some surface in my house for, 3 years or something. But I picked it up and I started reading it, and I just knew that this was a different experience than I've normally had with novels. And the further I read into it, the more I felt, my God, this is such a compelling read. I could feel my heart beating and wondering what was going to happen, and really worrying what was going to happen to Peter. And I got to the end, and I found I was really surprised by the story. I hope you guys were too. And I just couldn't. I thought that was like, oh, great book, very good, very nice book. Just finished the Top of the Lake second series. I was pretty tired, but everyone else was talking about what they were doing, and I didn't have anything I was doing. And then I asked my agent, please, would you find out if the rights are available? And when I asked that question, I realized, oh, I'm serious. Uh-oh, where am I going? This is something. And, I do think the book had a grip on me, and I really admired its formal qualities deeply, like the way the story is constructed. I think it's a beautifully clever story, but even more so, it's really personal. Thomas Savage really did live that life, and you really feel it, and I really felt like I could believe in it, and anyway, I couldn't stop thinking about it, so here we are.
Benedict, you're next. We're just going to travel down this line of hopefully it's not too painful. When I first saw you on screen, I had a very specific thought, and it was from Julius Caesar when he says, young Cassius has a lean look about him. You should beware of men like that. And I'm wondering if there were any archetypes that you were wanting to draw on specifically to then also subvert, or how you transformed.
Oh wow! No, you got further into the classics than I did.
I just wanted to show off in front of Jane. I'm not gonna lie.
No, it's impressive.
Really impressive. I liked it.
We all
the quote, but that would be it's a very beautiful quote.
It is. I know. Damn it. No.
You can take it moving forward. Really.
Oh, great. Shall I? Oh, yeah. I looked at the classics, and Cassius was my art. No, seriously. I mean, the novel is, as Jane said, it's pretty totemic, and this figure of Phil Burbank, he really is his own archetype, and yet there's so much kind of complex, what's the word? I suppose it's kind of like, he becomes untangled, he becomes untethered, but he also becomes deconstructed, and you see that there is this, amongst this incredibly powerful, adept, and consciously able human being. There's a child. There's this person who's living an emotional life of arrested development, and it's kind of crucifying him from the in. He's stuck in the past. He can't celebrate who he truly is with that past in the present, and everything that seems to be taken away from him, whether it's control, his brother, the idea of what the ranch is going to become, just sort of snowballs into this sort of endless tirade of violent reaction and anger out of fear and insecurity. So, but like Jane said, you discover these creatures in the novel, and Thomas Savage does this sort of wonderful figure of eight, as he was describing it, like looping forwards and backwards in terms of time to give backstory and colour and depth to these characters you're following in the present linear narrative. And so without that in the screenplay, you know, you lean heavily on Jane's work, which is just, it's masterful. So to be an actor and be able to carry a secret is one thing, let alone then to be able to reveal that in a very private moment, a held moment on screen. It's a real gift. And so, you know, I went about, to get back to your question, archetype-wise, no specific cultural figure. He really is something of his own, I feel. And at a massive crossroads in an era of change as well. He's about analog, he's about horses and animals and nature as his brother's going towards automation, and this guy turns up who's just, you know, space age as far as the future goes. Someone who's so assured of who he is, something we're more, you know, appreciative of these days, but to him it's a lesson. And I think he rediscovers himself through that. So any archetype he's playing with, he spots all the, God, this is a long answer, I'm so sorry.
I've been told to say at this moment that you've been up since 5 a.m. Right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Have you been told to say that?
Yeah, you told me.
You told
Did I tell?
Yeah, you
I
did
told
tell
you
me,
to tell. Yeah, okay. Put the sympathy vote. Sorry, guys. That's why I'm grabbing
He's
on.
giving you everything.
Yes, and then I will just fall asleep. But no, seriously, I think, you know, he doesn't. His armor is something he completely believes in. He has become that alpha male, and I think what's revealed is something else within him. And any other person who's playing at it is in his crosshairs, and that's one of the things he's sort of ruthless about. He takes down anyone he feels, however mistakenly, for example, with Peter in the first instance, is inauthentic or doing something that is not archetypal. He can't bear that. It completely throws him because he's so wedded to this thing he can't reveal, and who he has become through the act of being this alpha male. Kodi, your turn now.
Thank you. Wow.
And sleep.
Kodi, to me, your character is really the only fully formed person in the film, and I was fascinated with the lead-in of fragility that moves then to hardening. Is it very funny?
No, I just thoroughly disagree with what you just said, but that's okay. Everyone's entitled to
Sorry, we're having too much fun at this. Be very serious now. No, but I was really the how assured you were, not just in the entirety of the performance, the physicality that you bring to it. And I'm wondering if you could speak about that, embodying someone who is not perfect, but formed.
It's not hard to do in that aspect because a lot of that is me. A lot of that is me, but I think it does a great justice to show also how much is not to me and how much I dedicated to exploring new territory in terms of character development in the great guidance of Jane. Being able to put my complete trust into her to be able to experience new things and revisit new older techniques that we tend to leave in the past if we feel we've somewhat mastered or whatever. We on something like this have the chance to surrender to our ego surrender our ego to its defiance. Surrender to my ego would have been an amazing one. That would have been interesting. I would love to see that, Peter. Just an entrepreneur. No, I love that challenge, and he is so far, I guess, physically from me in many ways, and that was through, you know, doing things that I hadn't done before, like working with a body movement specialist, or going back to work with a dialect coach, as I have done many times before in my earlier years in the career. But to revisit something, I think, is great. To be reminded that we should always challenge ourselves with new endeavors and always treat ourselves as a student of the world and of your craft if we want to be rewarded in that way that is so fulfilling, I guess. And it's the chase of creativity.
I have one follow-up too, as I was speaking about specifically your character of the first time I saw the film, and I think this is a credit that almost every character feels like they could be the protagonist. And I had so many questions about your backstory. One of them being, do you think your character killed your father?
That's actually something that has come up quite a bit. In fact, it was a little secret that Kirsten and I held close to us, just in terms of just having something that we could play off of. We never wanted to let that out to the world because it's not in the book, basically. It's not in the novel. So it was just something that we were playing with. But yeah, it's been amazing that possibly has translated. but I think there's just so much ambiguity surrounding and cloaking Peter, and we're so shocked with, I guess we don't say his brutality, but this other side to him that is completely confirmed in the very kind of last seconds of us in his presence. So I guess it makes you question a great deal more. Other people has asked, maybe is George next? If he messes up, you know, I'm watching him through that window.
I like to know that. I had a question. You know, does he know he's going to do it? You know, so much is left to chance. Does he know that his mother, in a moment of humanity, is trying to give something and have a human connection, and it results in those hides go? They don't know that. That's a surprise.
And same goes for, I mean, you did have a nick on your finger, but that's not the one that I manipulate to get you sick. You actually get the cut on your hand when we're together with the rabbit. So a great deal of Peter, I mean, a lot of people, when taking away their own interpretation or asking me, which I feel like at the end of the day, as much as I portrayed this character, my interpretation is just as good as yours. It's my job to interpret the symbolism of him, the archetype and the essence of him, and it's our job as an audience to explore and enjoy that. So I don't have the answers in that, but I do love the fact that it shows that Peter, he didn't really ever have a set plan or a set goal. He just loves exploring the ideas and having all of his tools there in case anything goes awry. And it just so happens that, that it all kind of falls into place, and he's so good with improvising. I think...
Preparation meets opportunity.
Absolutely right, absolutely.
Actually describes your way of working, Jane, doesn't it?
That was my segue.
Well, no, but I mean, the thing I'd say from working with Jane in a producerial capacity is that she is the most extraordinarily prepared filmmaker, both as a screenwriter, and her screenwriting is superlative. The choices she made in translating the book, which is a phenomenal book for those of you who haven't read it, but it has a lot of meandering backstories and other components to it, which she ruthlessly and boldly excised in order to find a shape that was going to work for 2 hours. That comes with a real confidence of preparation, and then again into the director Jane, the prep and application and attention to detail that she applies as a filmmaker is phenomenal, and I think that is exactly what goes on with Peter in this. You know, preparation meets opportunity. He doesn't know how and when he's going to seize it, but he knows 360 degrees how to take the moment if it presents itself.
Absolutely.
And Tanya, I was also wondering, and correct me if I'm wrong, did Paul Newman also have the rights to this book? Like, it was, how did you actually come about being able to adapt it and getting the rights to it?
Well, as we understand it, it had been in and out of option almost from publication, and that Paul Newman had it for a period, and obviously I think that was post-HUD, and it was a part that he was obviously interested in playing. But one of our other producers, Roger Frappier, had acquired the rights.
After reading in a magazine that Gerard Depardieu had mentioned it as his favourite book in a magazine, so rushed out and bought it in Paris, and that's how he found it. So it's a beautiful, circuitous story, really, which we all came together and canned for a coffee.
And you were aware of those predecessors and the idea that it was a book that hadn't quite made it to the screen.
It was actually worrying for me, because when a book has been optioned 5 times, it means that people have not succeeded with it when they were hopeful, and it makes you feel like, oh, that's something to take seriously, like there must be problems. What am I not seeing, you know? What am I not knowing? I mean, we talked about that, didn't we? Like,
We did, and I think in a way one of the reasons why it felt so good for it to be something that Jane was making was she has this extraordinary capacity to translate the sensual and to get invisible desire visible on screen. And I think some of those qualities were probably harder for other people to do, both at times when homosexuality was illegal and less of a subject that could be translated onto screen successfully. And also now at this moment it feels like it's a very modern story to tell, even though it's a period setting, and very much in tune with some of the questions we're asking ourselves about masculinity and alpha men, and that in Jane's hands that was really something that was worth translating.
And Peter, I believe the process of editing the film began in quarantine, in complete isolation?
Yeah, it started a little before that. Well, I was working during the shoot, like as it went, but the start of our collaboration was in quarantine on a tiny desk with an iMac, like this close to my head, because the desk was really small in the hotel room.
I saw a lot of eyebrows.
I was literally, like, you know, iMacs have the camera on top, so like...
And we didn't know each other too, did we?
We'd met each other for like 3
those
hours.
were such strange, eerie times. I mean, we were in New Zealand, he flew in, he had to do 2 weeks of quarantine, so we started while he was in his hotel.
Yeah, it was really productive. There wasn't much else to do. That was one upside. But it was very like, you know, it's a really weird way to get to know someone who...
Well, we didn't even try. I felt like we just didn't even bother. I don't, you know, like it was like a new way of being with people. I don't bother getting to know them, you know. Just do the work. And then when you actually came into the room, I was sort of shocked. I was like, oh, this human being with everything they bring, and I can't really put my finger on what it is they bring, but we did slow down a lot, didn't we?
Especially the first week, yeah, it was weird.
Like, yeah, like all that politeness of like, oh, are you comfortable here, or when do you like to have lunch? And Peter likes to vape, and you know, it's we had to get used to our little manners, and you know, how often we went to the toilet, and blah blah blah. Yeah.
Do you think that the isolation of that experience helped in any way? Because there's the vastness of the film, but then everyone's so siloed and alone at the same time.
Yeah,
I think it really helped just that we were by ourselves. Like we were such a tight, you know, we've been such a big team.
Yeah, the
And
isolation of New Zealand, because we were apart from everyone else.
Yeah,
like,
nobody was with us. We were just you and me and an assistant.
yeah, for 3.5 months.
Yeah, so it was really beautiful. And we were in sort of shabby rooms, and
Yeah,
it just was beautiful to just focus on the work.
absolutely.
And you know, there's a lot of anxiety about how's it going to go, is it going to go well, but we could just calmly do it. I mean, also you're super calm.
Very calm.
Except that you have to get a prize on stage.
Yeah, then I'm terrified.
He's super calm and super encouraging, and that's another thing that you get from an editor. He's really encouraging. Oh, we'll get this. This will be fine. You know, I'm going like, oh, this is never going to work. No, we'll get it together. Don't worry. We'll find it. You know, oh, it's going to be good. You know.
Yeah, you got to be optimistic that you can get
He just
it to
is
work.
super optimistic.
It also just takes
And hardworking.
a lot of hard work.
Persist. You know, like editing is all about endlessly trying things, isn't it? And endlessly exploring.
Yeah, and just chasing it down to the very end, and always being like excited about new possibilities and new
Yeah, I mean,
ways
I remember when we
of
first
doing
spoke, I said to you, you reminded me that I said to you, this or something about it could be very long, or what's that?
Yeah, that was part of the interview process. Jane asked me if I would be driven to take it to the very end, like a kind of some kind of possessed person, like she is.
Yeah, I can't stop.
Yeah, we share that in common.
And it's so nice that, you know, when you're working with someone who has the same dedication to, you know, really trying every little route that you could, anything that could make it better, we'll try, really.
Yeah,
until
absolutely.
we tried them all.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
we definitely.
tools down, you know.
Yeah.
But some people get tired and sick of it. And, I mean, I don't blame them, but I don't.
And neither do I.
We're not tired and sick of this, but we do have to wrap up, unfortunately. It's late and want to respect everyone's time, but thank you all so much.